Who or what do you think have contributed to the success of women in the past 50 years in journalism? You say that it's getting better. Who or what do you think has made it get better?
I mean, it's hard to say as of late because there are so many women who are really talented who've been making it better. But when I think, like, going back to, like, the major changes, pioneer women journalists, I think of Barbara Walters, to be honest. She was, back in the 70s, she started, as a co-host for the Today Show. She was a Today Show girl. And she worked her way up and continued fighting until she got an anchor position for the Today Show. And that was kind of unheard of at that time. There's also journalists like Carol Simpson, who she fought and became one of the first African-American female anchors for a major news network. So people like that have really set the groundwork in a way for women to continue working in that direction. I can say I've always wanted to study media and be in the field. I think I've always had a passion for staying informed and informing others about what's going on in their community. It began kind of back when I was 4 years old, and I would make my family handwritten newspapers. So it started back then. It's only grown since, and here while working at UTVS and WCCO has really, ignited my passion for storytelling and the news in general.
Our own Sarah Redling took the trip to Minneapolis to get the feel of the community's reaction. She's live with us now. Sarah?
That's right, Lydia and Brianna. Protesters gathering in Minneapolis all over with one shared mission: to continue the fight and remember Jamar Clark. They voiced their emotions this weekend during a vigil that was held where Jamar Clark was shot.
I was raised in a family that we always had the news on. So we had the news on in the morning and at night, and we were spoiled in the fact that my family always got us the newspaper. So I think being raised in an environment like that, constantly seeing what's going on all the time and watching people inform others, I think that helped really promote my desire to look more into it.
I decided to get into TV journalism just because it was something that I was always fascinated in. I loved in grade school doing the current events. That was one of my favorite topics, and finding those newspaper clippings. And then in high school, I did, I was on the newspaper, I did yearbook, I was a total geek. And then after I graduated from college, or not from college, after I graduated from high school, I was faced with the task of what do I do, kind of a thing. I knew I wanted to get into news, and I just couldn't decide if it was print or TV. Since I was familiar with print and being on the newspaper, I wanted a challenge, and so I threw my hat into the TV ring, and it's it's been amazing. As a kid, I loved Connie Chung because being an Asian girl, now an Asian woman, and being able to see someone who looks like me on TV, I was like, wow, to me I was like, I really can do this. Like, I really could get a job in TV journalism. And so definitely looking up to her. And then, I think as she did the on-cam, whereas I was behind the scenes, I've had the privilege of working with so many amazing people, so many amazing storytellers. I mean, Boyd Hooper, Julie Nelson, Diana Pierce. Growing up, I loved her. And for the past 3 years, I was able to work with her. And so for me, that was a dream come true. And just being able to see how much she has achieved as a journalist. And it's amazing. And so it's when you work in an institution, in a company that has such a great reputation as KARE 11, your role models, you are working alongside them, and it is incredible. It's amazing.
There are so many great female journalists that I look up to. I could give you lists and lists, but when I think of it, I think Liz Collin is a journalist. She's a reporter and anchor at WCCO. Her investigative journalism pieces are amazing, and they've changed laws not only in Minnesota, but in other states as well. So I look up to her a lot. She's really creative and really a hard-hitting journalist in that sense. But I also look up to people like Jennifer Mayerly. She's another reporter at WCCO. And she was the journalist, in fact, that first got the tip about Jacob Wetterling being found, and kind of brought that all to light. And when you think about it, without, women like that, some of those stories or changes wouldn't be made, or, holding people accountable who we need to.
I think it's just one of those things where women are constantly making strides and making inroads and really pushing that glass ceiling you hear so much about, and so really making a name for themselves out there. And so it's I hope that women will continue doing that. I think it'll be I'm really excited to see what the next 50 years holds.
I would say, as far as in media, women have come a really long way. I think everybody knows this field used to be predominantly men in it, and women had a hard time breaking through. But these days it has gotten a lot better, but I still hear stories about kind of discrimination between, female and male anchors, reporters, in the sense of content or stories that they're reporting on. You hear a lot of times women get, more health-related stories or the softer feature-type stories. And people have said, oh, well, leave the men for the facts and the hard-hitting stories. So I think it's improved by leaps and bounds, but in some cases there's still kind of an underlying discrimination, if you can call it that.
I think the future of women in media is just going to get better. It's quite different from the past, where for decades and even centuries this idea that women are domestic bound and can do this kind of work, and it's obviously not true. Just having women on television in these sort of broadcast positions just opens up doors for women in general. Like Diane Sawyer, she's a reputable reporter, and she's been on for generations, inspiring people and not only doing great work, but showing that women can do this kind of work, and well.
They're fostering that innovation, that creativity, that setting those standards and setting the bar higher, I think is just incredible to see. And I think it's really important to have women like that, or just to have women who are, who can show and break stereotypes, and who can be role models, and for younger girls, just to be able to, see on TV, wow, she is smart. She knows what she's talking about when it comes to politics or health, and she's engaging, informative, and being able to be those role models for younger generations, I think, is huge. It's hopefully, as I believe, I don't remember the exact statistics, but I believe there's still a large number of, there's a disparity between men and women in journalism and TV journalism, but, I would love to see that gap just close, because, women, they bring to stories, they bring to, for me, as a producer, they bring to newscasts different perspectives. And so I think it's always great to have all those different voices come together.
You can't immediately change somebody's bias, if I can say it that way. If somebody thinks a man has more authority than a female, that's hard to change right away. But just continuing the hard work and continuing to report on the stories that change communities and make a difference, that proves it. So we're gonna make a difference by continuing hard work and proving that we can do the job just as well as a man can, or anybody can.
Well, from all of us here at UTBS, thanks for joining us tonight.
And we hope to see you right back here tomorrow evening. Have a good night.